Welcome to African Folktales Bid Elinas. Please subscribe, like this video, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Don't forget to turn on your notifications so you never miss a new story. Years back the village of Kajani woke before the sun on harvest morning. Smoke rose from cooking fires, and the smell of ripe corn filled the air. Women swept the paths and laughed together. Men carried baskets heavy with grain. Children ran barefoot, chasing chickens and singing old songs. Harvest Day meant food, music, and peace. Everyone believed this day held no secrets. At the edge of the village stood a girl named Sela. She was 15 years old, quiet, and always watching. She held a small clay pouch beneath her cloth wrap. Inside was a fine brown powder, dry and bitter. It was light as dust, yet it felt heavy in her hands. Her grandmother had given it to her long ago with a warning she never forgot. "This must never be used in anger," her grandmother said. "Only when truth is needed." Sela looked toward the largest cooking pot in the village square. That pot was sacred and used only once each year. Every family would eat from it together. No one was allowed to change the meal. Breaking that rule could divide the village. Sela's heart beat fast. She remembered lies left unspoken and pain hidden behind smiles. She whispered to herself, if only they knew what was added to the harvest meal. Sela lived with her grandmother, Nana Imani, near an old fig tree behind their hut. Nana Imani was small and bent, but her eyes were sharp and steady. She knew the forest paths, the river moods, and the names of healing plants. At night she told stories while the fire cracked softly. Some stories were joyful, others carried warnings. One night, Nana Imani showed Sela the powder for the first time. She poured a little into her palm and closed Sela's fingers around it. "This comes from a plant that listens," she said. "It does not harm the body, but it wakes the heart." Sela asked why such a thing existed. Nana sighed and said truth often sleeps too deeply. The old woman explained that the powder must only touch food once each year, during harvest. It would bring hidden thoughts to the surface, not as sickness, but as memory and feeling. Used wrongly, it could break trust forever. Used wisely, it could heal what silence had damaged. Years later, Nana Imani was gone. The fig tree still stood. Sela felt the weight of choice settle on her shoulders as harvest day arrived again. She understood that knowledge was a gift, but also a burden she could never put down. By midday, the village square was busy with movement and sound. 3 women stirred the great harvest pot with long wooden spoons. Steam rose thick and white, carrying the smell of spices and meat. Children were warned not to run too close. Everyone knew the meal fed the whole village. Sela helped carry water and wash grain, pretending her thoughts were calm. She watched the sun carefully. Nana Imani had said timing mattered more than strength. If the powder entered the pot too early or too late, it would lose its purpose. Drums began to beat slowly, calling people from the fields. Mzee Kato, the village chief, greeted families and spoke of gratitude. He reminded everyone that the harvest meal joined them as one body and one spirit. His words were kind, but Sela felt their weight. As the pot filled and thickened, Sela moved closer. Her fingers trembled as she reached beneath her wrap. The clay pouch felt warm against her skin. When no one looked her way, she loosened the tie and tipped the powder into the pot. It vanished without color or sound. The meal looked unchanged. Sela stepped back, her breath shaking, knowing the rule had been broken. The sun dipped low, painting the sky orange and purple. People gathered in the square, carrying wooden bowls and eager smiles. Laughter filled the air as the harvest meal was served. Elders sat first, then families, then children. No one was left out. Sela sat beside Taro, a quiet boy her age, who walked with a limp. He smiled when she handed him his bowl. "Smells good," he said softly. Sela nodded, though her stomach felt tight. They began to eat. At first, everything felt normal. The food was warm and filling. Sela wondered if the powder had failed after all. Then Mzee Kato stopped chewing. His spoon hovered in the air. "I remember something," he said slowly. The square fell silent. People looked at one another, confused. A woman frowned and pressed her hand to her chest. A man lowered his bowl, breathing hard. Feelings rose like sudden waves. Sela felt warmth behind her eyes, not pain, but awareness. She knew then the powder was working. The harvest meal had become a mirror, and the village was beginning to see itself clearly. Hidden memories stirred in many hearts, bringing both shame and hope together at the same shared table. Voices began to rise across the square, not in shouting, but in honest surprise. "I remember ignoring him," someone said quietly. "I remember breaking my promise," said another. Tears appeared where smiles had been moments before. Taro's hand shook. He set down his bowl. "I remember waiting for help," he whispered. Sela felt her throat tighten. No one laughed at him. No one looked away. Fear soon followed the truth. A man stood up and shouted, "What is happening to us?" Another pointed toward the pot. "This is not normal," she cried. Murmurs spread like fire through dry grass. Sela knew the moment had come. Her legs felt weak, but she stood anyway. The square slowly turned toward her. The drums were silent now. Even the fire seemed to hold their breath. "I did this," Sela said, her voice shaking but clear. "I added something to the meal." Gasps filled the air. Mzee Kato studied her face. "Then you must speak," he said calmly. Sela lifted her head, knowing there was no turning back. The harvest meal had already changed everything. The truth had entered their bodies, but soon it would reach their hearts and demand to be answered. Silence held the square after Sela spoke. The fire crackled, loud in the quiet. Mzee Kato nodded once. "Say what you added, and why," he said. Sela took a breath and told them about Nana Imani, the listening plant, and the rule of harvest. She said the powder did not poison bodies. It stirred memories and feelings, then faded. "I wanted us to see what we hide," she said. Some faces softened. Others hardened. A woman stepped forward. "You broke a sacred rule," she said. A man answered, but she showed a deeper truth. Voices crossed like wind. As night grew darker, the feeling spread. A hunter admitted taking extra land. A mother confessed she favored one child. Apologies followed, clumsy but real. No one slept much. People sat in small circles, talking low. Sela stayed near the fire. Fear pressed on her, but also relief. The village was hurting, yet listening. Before dawn, the warmth behind her eyes faded. She knew the powder's work was ending. What remained would be choice. She wondered which the village would make when morning arrived. The stars dimmed above the roofs, and Sela felt every gaze upon her, waiting for daylight to decide whether courage or fear would guide them. Morning came with pale light and sore eyes. The strange heaviness was gone, but memories stayed sharp. At the well, women spoke carefully. "Do you remember?" one asked. Heads nodded. No one laughed it away. Mzee Kato called a meeting. People gathered under the acacia. "We must choose our path," he said. "We can punish the hand that broke the rule, or we can heal the harm the truth showed." Murmurs rolled through the crowd. A man named Bwalo stepped forward. He was respected and loud. "Rules protect us," he said. "If we allow this, we invite chaos." Some agreed. Others shook their heads. Sela stood beside Taro. He whispered, "I was seen." She squeezed his hand. Mzee Kato raised his staff. "The truth came without knives," he said. "It cut, but it did not kill." He turned to Sela. "You will not act that afternoon." Work resumed, but trust moved slowly. Sela helped grind grain while watching the shed. The lock looked new to new. Her stomach tightened. Bwalo passed by and stopped. "You spoke well," he said. His smile did not reach his eyes. "Truth is useful. It must be carried with care." Sela replied. He shrugged. "Care is a choice." As shadows lengthened, a goat cried near the fields. People chased the sound and found nothing. Whispers grew. Fear likes empty spaces. Lone again. "The knowledge must be guarded." Sela bowed. "I accept," she said. The village exhaled. The decision held, for now. Yet eyes followed Bwalo as he smiled thinly. The air felt tight, like a knot pulled hard. Outside the circle, the cooking shed stood quiet, its door closed, keeping secrets that would soon matter. At dusk, Sela checked the fig tree, then hurried back. The shed door stood open. Her heart raced. Inside, the jars were disturbed. The small clay jar that held the listening plant was gone. Sela ran to Mzee Kato. "The powder is missing," she said. Faces tightened. "Who would take it?" someone asked. Sela's eyes found Bwalo across the square. He met her gaze without blinking. The drums began for evening prayers, but the rhythm felt wrong. Night settled heavy, and the village felt smaller, as if walls had moved closer. Children were called inside early. Fires burned lower. Sela lay awake, counting breaths, knowing a second meal could turn care into harm. The night insects hummed, and the shed's open door creaked, accusing and loud in the dark. Before sunrise, a runner brought news. Traders were arriving by noon, expecting a welcome feast. The council argued. Canceling would insult guests. Proceeding could risk disaster. Sella pushed through the crowd. "Stop the meal," she said. "We don't know how much was taken." Bwalo laughed softly. "Fear again," he said. "Let the village eat." Mzee Kato hesitated. He chose a delay. "1 hour," he said. "We decide then." Sella searched. She found tracks near the shed and a clay jar hidden by Bwalo's hut. Some powder was gone. Not much, but enough. She ran back, breath burning. "He took it," she said, pointing. Bwalo spread his hands. "Accusations," he said. The traders entered the square, smiling. Drums stuttered. The pot sat waiting. Sella stood between it and the fire. "Do not serve," she pleaded. The air tightened. Choices stacked like stones. The hour ended, and every eye turned to Mzee Kato. He felt the weight of custom and care. Children clutched bowls. Smoke curled upward. Somewhere, the fig leaves rustled, as if remembering old rules. Mzee Kato raised his staff, but before he spoke, the pot shimmered faintly, a warning no one could ignore. A murmur rolled, fear and hope mixed, waiting on a single word. Asterisk, the shimmer grew into a low hum. Not loud, but firm. Bwalo's smile slipped. "Make it stop," someone whispered. Mzee Kato spoke. "No feast," he said. "Not today." Relief washed over Sella. Bwalo stepped forward, angry. "You deny our guests," he said. "You deny me," the hum answered him. It pressed inward. Bwalo staggered. His eyes filled, then emptied. He fell to his knees. Sella approached slowly. "Breathe," she said. "Listen." Bwalo shook. Words spilled from him. Land taken, favors traded, lies stacked. The truth turned on its holder. The hum faded as he collapsed, weeping. The village stood still. No cheering, only understanding. Mzee Kato lowered his staff. "Power without care eats itself," he said. They burned the remaining powder at dawn, ash returning to soil. The rule was sealed. The harvest meal would wait another year. Guests were fed simply and kindly. Bwalo was carried home and guarded. Night fell calmer, stitched together by shared work and quiet resolve. Sella sat by the fig tree, tired and steady, knowing the harder work would begin with tomorrow's light. At last, the next morning, the village woke slowly. Smoke rose, but there was no music. People spoke in low voices, as if loud sound might break something fragile. Bwalo did not leave his hut. 2 elders sat outside to watch over him. Mzee Kato called the council together. "We stopped a second breaking," he said. "But stopping is not healing." He looked around the circle. "We must decide how we live with what we now know." Some spoke of forgiveness. Others spoke of fear. A woman said, "Truth showed us wounds we ignored." A farmer replied, "Wounds still bleed." Sella stood when invited. "The powder is gone," she said. "What remains is memory." "Memory needs care," she suggested. "Small acts, shared work days, open meetings, fair turns at water and land." Kojo, once quiet, now steady, added, "Let those hurt speak first." Heads nodded. Mzee Kato agreed. "We begin today." The council set rules for listening circles each week. No shouting. No blame without repair. Sella felt relief, mixed with worrying. Rules help, but hearts must choose them daily. Outside, the fig tree cast a wide shade. Children gathered beneath it, curious. Sella watched them and hoped the shade would grow with them, wide enough to hold hard truths gently, without burning anyone again. Listening circles began that evening. People sat in rings, knees touching the dust. A stone was passed. Only the holder spoke. It was slow and awkward. It worked. A mother spoke of favoring one child. She apologized. The child cried, then nodded. A hunter returned land he had taken during a flood. Others followed. Repair took time. Bwalo joined the circle days later. He looked smaller. "I chased power because I feared being unseen," he said. No one cheered. No one shouted. Mzee Kato thanked him for speaking and named clear steps for repair. Sella listened more than she spoke. She learned that truth needs room and rhythm. Too fast, it breaks. Too slow, it rots. At the old stream, Sella washed her hands and watched the water carry ash away. She felt the faint hum once, then nothing. The plant's work was done, That night, rain fell lightly. Fields drank. Roofs tapped. The village slept deeper. In the morning, traders returned with patience. They were welcomed with simple meals and honest smiles. "Your village feels different," one said. Sella smiled. "We're learning," she replied. Learning felt like the right word. And finished, careful, alive. Weeks passed. The harvest was stored. Hunger stayed away. Work felt shared. Mistakes still happened, but they were named sooner. Mzee Kato asked Sella to help teach the children. Not secret skills, listening, taking turns, saying sorry well. She agreed. One afternoon, a child asked, "Why can't we use the truth plant again?" Sella thought carefully. "Because tools can become shortcuts," she said. Shortcuts skip care. Kojo practiced leading games that included everyone. Sira taught songs with hand signs so all could join. Small changes stacked into stronger days. Bwala worked quietly, repairing fences and carrying water. He did not lead. He learned. At the fig tree, a board was set for notices. Decisions were posted for all to see. Transparency replaced whispers. Sella sometimes felt the weight return. What if they forgot? She wrote reminders in charcoal. Listen, repair, share, rainwash them away. She rewrote them. One evening, Mzee Kato said, "A village is not healed once. It is healed often." Sella nodded. The lesson felt earned, not spoken. When the next planting season came, a drought threatened. Wells lowered. Tempers rose. Old habits knocked. Mzee Kato called a circle before fear could lead. People shared water plans. Fields were rotated. No one hoarded. The drought passed with losses, but not with blame. Sella watched the process and felt pride without pridefulness. The work belonged to many. She visited Nana Imani's grave and placed a stone. "We chose care," she said. The wind answered softly. That night, Sella dreamed of the pot not glowing, not humming, just warm. People ate and talked. Nothing magical. Everything important. She woke steady. A new chief was chosen later, by many voices. Mzee Kato smiled as he handed over the staff. "Guard the table," he said. Sella stepped back. Leadership looked different now. Shared, clear. Children learned the harvest song with a new line added. "We listen before we eat." It stuck. The fig tree grew wider. Its shade reached the shed where the pot slept, clean and quiet. Sella ran her hand along its rim one afternoon and felt peace. The hardest choice had already been made and kept. Years later, visitors asked about the famous harvest. People told the story simply. No powders, no drama, just a choice. Sella grew older and kinder. She laughed more. She listened better. When asked to lead, she asked who else should join. Kojo taught children to run games fairly. Sira led songs across the fields. Bwalo taught patience by example. The harvest meal returned each year, unchanged. It fed bodies well. The village fed hearts daily. On a cool evening, a child asked Sella, if only they knew what was added to the harvest meal, what would they learn? Sella looked at the table, the faces, the hands passing bowls. They would learn it wasn't a thing, she said. It was a moment. The child frowned, thinking. A moment when courage sat with care. Sella added. The drums began. Stars woke. The pots steamed gently. The village ate together, as they always had, now knowing that the strongest ingredient was never hidden, never burned, and never used again without consent. It was practiced. It was shared. It stayed. Time moved forward, steady as footsteps on a long road. Children grew taller. Fields rested and were planted again. The story of the harvest became part of daily talk, not a secret whispered at night. One year, heavy rains came too fast. The river jumped its banks and cut through lower fields. Some families lost crops. Old fear stirred, sharp and quick. People argued about whose land should be saved first. Sella felt the tension return like a familiar ache. She did not reach for lost tools or old knowledge. Instead, she called a listening circle. At first, voices shook. Then plans formed. People shared tools. They moved soil together. Young and old worked side by side. The river slowed, guided by many hands. Loss was shared, so it felt lighter. That evening, Mzee Kato, now gray and smiling, sat beside Sella. You see, he said. The habit held. Sella nodded. Truth learned to walk, she replied. The village ate simple food that night. No feast, no drums. Just bowls passed carefully. Laughter returned slowly, like grass after rain. Sela watched the river darken under the stars and felt gratitude. The hardest work was not stopping harm once. It was choosing care again and again, even when fear tried to lead. As years passed, visitors came more often. They heard that Kijani solved problems by listening. Some doubted. Some stayed to learn. Sela never told them about the powder unless asked directly. Even then, she spoke of choices, not plants. Tools fade, she said. Habits stay. A young girl named Luma followed Sela everywhere. She asked many questions. One day she asked, "What if people lie in the circle?" Sela thought. "Then we keep the circle," she said. Lies grow tired when truth is patient. Luma nodded, unsure but curious. That season, a sickness passed through nearby villages. Fear knocked again. Kijani prepared clean water and shared herbs they knew well. They did not hoard. They sent help outward. The sickness passed them lightly. Elders from other places asked how. Mzee Kato answered, "We practice care before we need it." At night, Sela dreamed less of hums and mirrors. She dreamed of tables long enough for everyone. When she woke, she wrote lessons for the children. Wait, listen, repair. The fig tree's shade widened further, holding many lessons without speaking them aloud. One dry season, food ran low before the rains. The harvest meal felt far away. Children worried. Parents whispered. Sela called the council early. "Scarcity tests habits," she said. "Let's plan before fear does." They counted stores honestly. They set fair portions. Those with more shared quietly. Pride stayed low. A man suggested shortcuts. "We could pressure neighbors," he said. The circle stayed calm. "We won't," Mzee Kato replied. The weeks were lean but steady. Songs helped. Stories filled bellies a little. When rain finally came, it was celebrated with relief, not blame. Luma asked Sela later, "Why didn't we use the old way?" "Because the old way took choice away," Sela said. "We keep choice," Luma smiled. "I like choosing." That night, the pot was cleaned and checked, ready for the future. Sela ran her hand along its rim and felt gratitude for limits. Limits made room for trust. She looked around the square faces, tired, but open. The village had learned that strength was not hidden in food or tools, but practiced daily, especially when no one was watching. When Sela's hair began to gray, she trained others to lead circles. She stepped back on purpose. Leadership grew wider. One evening, a dispute rose quickly over grazing land. Voices sharpened. Sela did not speak first. She watched the new leaders hold the circle. They did well. The issue settled without breaking anyone. Later, Kojo sat beside her. "You're smiling," he said. "I'm resting," Sela replied. That harvest, the meal was simple and joyful. Children performed the song with the added line. Elders laughed. Visitors joined in easily. Afterward, Luma, now grown, asked Sela a final question. "If you could change one thing from that first harvest, what would it be?" Sela thought carefully. "I would ask for help sooner," she said. "Courage is stronger together." Luma nodded. "I'll remember." As night deepened, stars brightened the sky. The pot cooled. The table emptied slowly. With thanks spoken to many hands, Sela felt peace settle, earned and shared. The story had become a habit. The habit had become a home. Sela passed quietly one cool morning. The village gathered without panic. They knew how to hold loss under the fig tree. Stories were shared. Not about magic, but about moments. Times when listening changed a path. Times when repair mattered more than being right. The harvest came again. The pot was filled as always. No one wondered what might be added. They already knew. At the table, children asked questions. Elders answered honestly. Bowls passed. Smiles lingered. A new teacher wrote on the board beneath the tree. "Care first. Truth follows." As dusk fell, the village ate together. The food was warm. The talk was gentle. The future felt open. And if only they knew what was added to the harvest meal long ago, they would learn it was never powder or plant or secret at all. It was a choice made once, then practiced every day. It stayed. After Sela was gone, the fig tree felt quieter, but not empty. People still gathered there without being told. They sat in circles the way she had shown them. The habit stayed. Luma became one of the main listeners. She did not speak much at first. She watched faces. She waited for pauses. When she spoke, it was calm and clear. People trusted that. One afternoon, a traveler arrived with sharp words. He said other villages laughed at Kijani. They say you're weak, he said. You talk too much. The circle stayed still. No one rushed to defend. Finally, Luma spoke. You may sit with us, she said, or you may leave with your words. The traveler stayed. Over days, his sharpness softened. He joined the work. Before leaving, he said quietly, I will take this way home. The harvest came again. The fields were full. The meal was shared. Children placed bowls carefully, remembering hands before hunger. At night, under stars, Luma felt a gentle strength. She understood now. Stories do not end when a person does. They change hands. Years passed, and Kijani grew known for its calm. Traders stopped longer. Learners stayed seasons. One year, a young leader from a nearby village asked to study the harvest meal. What makes it special? He asked. Luma answered honestly. Nothing added, she said. Much removed. She showed him the circles, the board under the fig tree, the way children were taught to wait. This took time, she said, and patience. The leader frowned. My people want quick change. So did we, Luma replied. Quick change often breaks. The man stayed through planting. He struggled with silence. He learned to pass the stone and wait. When he left, he bowed deeply. That season, storms tested the roofs. People repaired them together. No one counted hours. At the harvest, a child asked, who started all this? An elder smiled. Many people, she said. But one woman helped us choose. They ate together as wind moved through leaves. The pot steamed gently, steady and unchanged. As elders aged, children took more roles. They led songs. They organized work. Mistakes happened, but repairs followed quickly. One day, the notice board cracked and fell. Instead of blame, laughter came. A new board was built, stronger. Luma watched from the shade. She felt the joy of stepping back, just as Sela once had. A visitor asked, Do you ever miss the old way? Luma answered, We miss ease sometimes, but we do not miss harm. The harvest meal that year included stories told by children. They spoke of waiting turns and sharing tools. Their voices were confident. At night, the fig tree glowed with lantern light. People danced slowly. Elders clapped. Luma placed a small stone near Sela's resting place. We kept it, she whispered. The wind answered softly. She returned to the table and sat among many. The bowls passed. The lesson lived quietly in hands and habits, not in words. One final test came when a rich beer offered gold for grain, more than anyone had ever seen. The offer was tempting. The council met. Voices shook. Hunger was not near, but want was. Luma called a circle open to all. We decide together, she said. Some wanted the gold. Others feared the cost. A child asked, Will we still eat together? Silence followed. An elder spoke. If we sell too much, we eat alone later. The decision was slow. They sold a little. They kept enough. The gold was shared for repairs and learning, not power. The beer left surprised. You are strange people, he said. Luma smiled. We are careful people. That harvest, the meal tasted the same as always, warm, honest, enough. Under the fig tree, the board read, Enough is plenty. People nodded as they passed. The village slept well that night. Not rich, not poor, just steady. Many seasons later, the story traveled far. Some told it loud. Some told it wrong. Kijani did not chase the telling. They lived it. The harvest meal remained simple. No secret, no fear. Only practice. Children grew into elders who remembered waiting for the stone. They taught it again when strangers asked if only they knew what was added to the harvest meal. The people smiled gently. They knew the answer. Nothing was added. Something was chosen. Care over fear. Listening over power. Repair over blame. At dusk, the fig tree stood wide and strong. The pot rested nearby, clean and quiet. The village ate together, as they always had. Hands passed bowls, eyes met, voices softened, and that was the story complete. Not because it ended, but because it continued, carried forward by ordinary people choosing well, again and again.